Hello. In this video I will show you what I consider to be a really effective way of doing Bloodwebs in Dead by Daylight. By effective I mean getting as many perks as you can in each Bloodweb, which is usually 2, while spending the least amount of blood points. Currently in the game there are so many perks and many more are yet to come. Getting all of the perks on a single character, let alone multiple characters, is a really lengthy, grindy process. You can also prestige each character up to 3 times, and each time you prestige you lose all of the perks and start getting them anew. If you choose to prestige your character, then the whole process takes even longer and more blood points. First of all, if you have a character that you plan to further prestige in the future and you have a good blood point income you play regularly, then I suggest you go through Bloodwebs as fast as possible, getting the cheapest stuff, sometimes even ignoring perks. But I will show that later in the video. First I want to focus on if you have a character that's prestige 3, or even if it's not prestige 3 but you do not plan to further prestige them, then I suggest that you fully invest into a Bloodweb. So get 2 perks in each Bloodweb, do it efficiently, and also get the stuff that you want. Not exclusively focus on the cheapest stuff, but actually the stuff you want. So at level 50, a Bloodweb contains 4 perks. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to get a perk, what you can do, but I do not recommend, is go like 1, 2, and then instead of going for the perk immediately, you go somewhere else, like 3, 4. Once you take 4 things, the entity appears. And then once you take the 5th thing, whether it's a perk or anything else, the entity will immediately consume one of the remaining perks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After we took 5 things, the entity has consumed one of the remaining perks. I do not recommend this. I recommend going straight for the perk. Instead of having to spend blood points on 5 things before the entity starts moving, we want to go 1, 2, 3, and once we grab the perk, the entity will immediately consume another perk, so it won't wait for 5 steps. We want the entity to spawn as soon as possible, because we do want to spend the least amount of blood points, and if the entity eats more things in the Bloodweb, then this is gonna be efficient for us. So I will demonstrate this right now. I always recommend that you leave a character's Bloodweb like this, with 1 or 2 things unclaimed, because when a new character comes out and you unlock their teachable perks, if you want to get them on this character, you just have to consume 1 thing, the entity will consume the other thing, and you immediately gain access to a new Bloodweb that has a chance to contain the new perks. Of course, if this character is already maxed out, the new Bloodweb will already contain all of the new perks or some of the new perks, depending on how many you have unlocked. So let's do this right now. What I'm gonna show you works for level 1 to 50, but I'm showing you on level 50 because the Bloodweb is at its fullest. First, if you do not plan to get all of the perks on the character, but just want to gain certain perks and then you're done with the character, then you can go for the perks that you want. Prioritize them. But if you want to get all of the perks on the character eventually, then do not prioritize on the perks that you want, but rather look at where the perks are, where they are located, what branches they are connected to. This is very important. So we have this perk, this perk, this perk, and this perk. We want to check which perk we want the entity to go for, so we can avoid that perk. This perk, if the entity goes for it and then moves here, it consumes this, because we don't have access to this anymore. And then if it moves again, it will consume all of this. This is awesome. This is really efficient if the entity goes for this. If the entity goes for this, it will move like this and here and immediately consume these things, because once this is consumed, we can't reach this. So either this or this perk, if it's consumed by the entity, it's great for us, because a whole chunk is removed immediately. We can get to a new Bloodweb faster. Then let's look at this perk. If the entity consumes this, it will move here, immediately consume this. But then it could move here and consume this, which is okay, and then go here and further. Or it could move here and then end. So this is not really the best. It has some value if the entity consumes it, but not too much. These are awesome. Let's look at this one. If the entity consumes this perk, then it will move here, but then it can move here and get small value and then some value. But it could also move here and then go here and do nothing for us. So this is the worst thing for the entity to consume. This is okay. It eats some of the stuff. These are really good. And this can go either way and not be efficient. So we want to get rid of this. Let's claim it. Awesome. The entity didn't go for this, but one of these. This is what we wanted. So let's do not touch this, because we want this to be eaten away. Let's go for this perk. 1, 2. A big chunk was consumed immediately. And the entity has nowhere else to go, so of course let's grab the perk before the entity does so. And now we see where the entity is right now. So it will go here, consume this, and here consume this, which is okay. There are no really good branches remaining, so let's just grab the stuff that we want now. So this, and now we have a new Bloodweb. Again, let's take a look at where the perks are and what they are connected to. This perk, if the entity goes for it, it moves here and consumes this and then this. These are cheap things and it's just a small branch, so it's okay-ish. If the entity goes from here, it will consume this and then this, but then it will move in one of the directions. It's not really efficient. If the entity goes from here, it might go here and eliminate this, but it might go here and then here or here, which would be good, so it's random. Here, if it goes, if the entity consumes this, then it can go for this, this, or this, and then go around. So nothing really efficient. This is somewhat okay. This can be good. There are expensive stuff in here. This can be good as well. So I think this is the worst option for the entity consume, so I'm gonna go for it. So the entity has consumed this. It will potentially get here, so let's grab this. This stuff is cheap anyway. So now I could grab this, and then the entity would immediately, upon grabbing the perk, move from here to here, but then we would miss the chance of it eating this away. So before taking this, let's grab something else. It can be this or this. We gave the entity the chance to consume this. Again, if we grab the perk right away, the entity would move from here to here, so we would miss a chance of being efficient. So again, let's prolong this. Awesome. So we delayed grabbing this perk 2 times to eliminate some things efficiently. And now we can grab this perk. What is left is something tangled together, nothing really, no good branches to be consumed, so out of the remaining stuff, let's just grab what we want. Again, ooh, we have some good stuff here. These 2 perks. If the entity goes for this, it consumes this, and it goes this here, it consumes all of this. We want this eliminated because it saves us a lot of blood points. It's really efficient. If it goes from here, it's the same thing. So do not touch these 2 perks. We want the entity to take them. Then we have this one. If it moves here and here, it will consume this, which is okay, but not nearly as efficient as this. If the entity spawns here, then it can go either here and then here or here, hopefully here, and then consume this, which is good but not the best. So we leave these 2 for the entity, this one and this one, which is the messiest, we'll take. We were lucky that the entity did not go for this, otherwise we would have to go for one of these 2 and then the whole branch wouldn't be consumed. So the entity will do its thing. Now immediately we go for this perk. This is really efficient, and this is what we want. And now the entity stopped here, has nowhere to go, so we have to grab the perk, or the entity could take it instead of us. Now there are no good branches left, so we take the stuff that we want. Let's see, we have this perk. So this perk would, the entity, if it consumed this, it will go here, then it could go here and then maybe here and eliminate this, which would be awesome. Or from here it could go here and then here, get rid of this, maybe this and eliminate this, or go around. So it could do a nice job, but it's not certain. If the entity consumes this and moves here, it consumes this immediately, or it could go like this. And then it moves here, and then it could go in many ways. So I would say that this, if it consumes this, it's not really efficient for us. If it goes from here, it will consume this, and then if it goes here, it could potentially consume this and this. So it's okay. If it spawns here, it could move here or go for this first and then this. It could go here and consume this, here and consume this, or here and consume this. So these are good things. So if the entity appears here, it can consume some nice stuff. If it goes here, it could also consume good things. And then we have this and this. So it's not really clear in this blood web which one is the best to go for, so go with your intuition. I will go for this. Now I will go close to this perk, but if I grab it immediately, the entity will hop right away here, which wouldn't be the best because it would naturally move here and immediately consume these because we can't access them anymore. So instead of grabbing this right away, let's delay the process by taking something that we want elsewhere. Awesome. Again, actually, here there's only one perk left, so let's take it. The entity will not jump anywhere else because there are no remaining perks. Awesome. And then again. Great. Now the entity still has a way to go. It will consume this next. But there's some expensive stuff here. This is only 3k and this is 6 and 5. Instead of leaving this cheap thing to the entity, I will grab it. Great, something more expensive was consumed. And now I can grab this, for example. And now there's nothing else to do really. I can grab either this or this. And now I could consume this and go to a new blood web. So I hope you get the process. You take a look at each of the 4 perks and what would happen if the entity would spawn there. Where could it possibly go? Which branches could it possibly consume? And you check that for each of the 4 perks. And then you yourself consume the perk that has the least potential for quick elimination of a big branch in the blood web. And like I showed you, once you grab a perk, and the entity will consume another perk, and then decide which of the remaining 2 perks you're going for. 1, 2, and then before taking the perk, see where the entity is currently and if it has a path to proceed, and if the path is good. If it's good, you do not want to take the perk right away because it will relocate the entity. You want to delay taking that perk. Go for something else. The entity will move and hopefully consume something else. And then if you need to delay it again, delay it. And the entity will consume something else that's big. And then once that's done, consume the perk. And like I showed you in this case, the entity would have moved here because it has a path to go. There was more expensive stuff here. That's why I took this away, so the entity would take something more expensive. After this, it went for this, but there was a chance that it would have taken this expensive thing and this immediately. So this and this combined is much better than if the entity consumed this, which is cheap. So this is how I do Bloodwebs, and I find it really efficient. And maybe you have some of your methods that are different than mine that are also efficient, which is great. This is just a way for me to show you how to be efficient and get your perks faster. And now I will show you what I do when I have a character that's not prestige 3, but I will prestige them to 3 eventually. And I just want to get through Bloodwebs as fast as possible. Grab the cheapest things, even ignore perks if needed. Here we have 2 perks. If there are at least 2 perks, you can grab one and immediately make the entity spawn. So 1, 2, 3, the entity will immediately take this. If there were only 1 perk, if this weren't here, grabbing it right away wouldn't make the entity spawn. If there's only 1 perk, the entity will spawn after you consume 5 things. But if there are at least 2 perks. Consuming one right away will make the entity appear. So let's see which option is the cheapest for us. So this is 3, 3, and 4, 3, 3, and 5k blood points. So let's go for this. This is the most expensive stuff remaining, so let's block this away so the entity has to relocate. And now we have only 1 perk, so the entity will not spawn immediately if we consume this. 1, 2, 3. So, taking that into account, I will ignore this for now and go for the cheapest stuff. This is 3k, 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 4k, and 4k. Since the entity hasn't spawned, I might as well pick this up. So these two are the most expensive. So I want to do 3k, 3k, and this is the cheaper one out of these two, so I want to get close to it. 3k, 4k. Now this is 5k and this is 6k. I'm gonna take this because it's cheaper. If this was 3k, for example, I would have taken this, even though this is a perk, because I want a fast level through Prestige 1. Again, we have only 1 perk, so let's go 3k, 3k, 4k. These are both 4k. This is 5 and this is 6. So probably we'll have to choose between these two. We want the entity to go for the more expensive one. So 4k, and we are ready. We are close to this. 4k, and now I'm taking this because it's cheaper. If this were cheaper, I would take this, even though I lose a perk because it's only Prestige 1. Here I have 1 perk which is connected to a branch and another branch, and this is more expensive. In this case I will take these things. And now these are both 5k. I'll grab the 3k. If I consume this, the entity will not consume this right away. It will jump here because I have to have something that I can consume. So I'll take this, and this is what I have left. Okay, so I've showed you now how I, first of all, how I go through Bloodwebs with characters that I'm fully investing into, and now with characters that I'm speedy leveling because I'm gonna prestige them soon anyway. I hope you found this video helpful, and that this helps to reduce your grinding, that you can get your perks faster and enjoy the game more. Have fun with bloodwebbing.